Technology always improves, and the same goes for roller coasters. In the past 100 years, we achieved what we virtually thought was impossible in both the technological world and the enthusiast world. We made the internet, we built X2, we landed on the moon, we built a 500-foot coaster. Now, I'm not saying these are achievements that are even close to each other, but technology always improves. If you look at coasters from, let's say, 100 years ago, they were so bad that they were breaking people's necks. We learned that we could build with steel, safely go upside down, go above the track, go below the track, spin around the track. We virtually have tried everything. But the real question is, have we hit a max? You can only go so far, right? Is there a limit to what we can do with roller coasters? The short answer is yes, but there's a lot more that we could talk about, a whole video more, so let's get right into it. Now, the first thing that comes to mind when you ask have we hit our max comes down to, can we build bigger, taller, faster, longer? I don't know why people only care about this, but they do. Now, the problem with building bigger is mainly just cost. I don't see many parks wanting to spend huge amounts of money. Before, there used to be a huge draw of building these record-breaking coasters, and Maverick kind of just put the whole fad out of the trend. The only people nowadays who are spending big bucks on roller coasters is the Middle East, which we have seen in Falcon's Flight. This probably costed somewhere around 70 mil, and no one else has the money to spend to build on something this massive. Disney and Universal value theming way too much to build a coaster this size, and other companies are just not going to. The most Six Flags ever spent on a coaster was X, and that was 55 mil, but this was in a completely different era of Six Flags. The most Cedar Fair has ever spent on a coaster was 35 mil, and that was Top Thrill Dragster, rest in peace.
Hell no!
I think it's safe to say there's just not a company willing to invest into a coaster of this size right now. Now, that could change in the future, but only time will really tell. So theoretically, if we were to build bigger and better, we hit another wall, GForces. There is only so much GForces humans can take. If you look at Dodonpa, for example, the launch was so powerful that it was fracturing people's necks and spines. So just looking at that, you can ask yourself, have we hit a max? And we kind of have. Look at this G-force chart. These are around the G-forces that an average human can sustain and generally where regulations allow. From this graph, you can see that humans can sustain 6 Gs for a short period of time and sustain 3 Gs. Of course, regulations could be pushed, but humans can't. We are already hitting max Gs, so adding any more won't help. Additionally, if you make coasters too intense, they become unpopular like I-305. It's just not a good return on investment from a park standpoint. That's why Maverick was so good. It proved you could do a lot with a little, and that's kind of what we talked about before. The futures of coasters is about balance and what we can do with a diverse set of forces. To add on to this, RMC has crammed virtually the max amount of ejector airtime into a coaster. Some people say the bunny hills on Air Force One are a bit too much, and I can totally see that. So in summary, I don't think the forces are going to get any more insane, but we will talk about what the future looks like in a hot minute. Next up, let's talk about coaster concepts. A lot of coasters are a lot of fun because they are very gimmicky. Flying coasters are sick, inverts used to be out of this world, and now you have things like the S&S Axis coaster, which I don't even know what it does. I feel like we are getting to the point where we are running out of ideas. It would take some crazy creative people to invent a new gimmick that we haven't seen before. Like, I literally can't think of one. We have hanging from the track, on the side of the track, laying down on the track, spinning around the track, spinning on top of the track, spinning on the side of the track. The only ideas that are left are mixing ideas that are already made. Maybe you could make a spinning invert with inversions or a flying invert hybrid. These are the only really fresh ideas that come to mind. Now, this does not mean every single idea is gone though. We still have a lot of work to do with inverted LSMs. I feel like inverts are a category in general that could be expanded upon a lot. Imagine an invert with a blitz type layout, that would be so fuego. You could also mess around with wood coasters, but wood coasters are a dying genre. Anyways, in general, we have explored a lot of the gimmicks, so I don't think anything crazy is coming in the near future. We'll touch again on this topic when we talk about what the future looks like as well. One interesting point to talk about is building a good coaster is becoming subjective. There used to be a time when a new coaster opened and people would immediately declare it #1 in the world. When the Beast was made, it was described as easily the #1 coaster in the world. Nothing could top it. Same thing happened with Millennium Force and Comet at Great Escape. But nowadays, people argue all the time which coaster is better between Steve, Iron Gwazi, Zadra, Ride to Happiness, Edgenica, Dinoconda, Fury 325, ElToro, Voyage, Velocicoaster, Air Force One, and so much more. There is no longer any roller coaster that can truly stand out as the best because there is little room for coasters to grow anymore. The only true #1 coaster people can somewhat agree on is Ride to Happiness because it does everything other coasters do, but adds spinning. But even then, this is still a bit of a stretch to call it this unanimous. So in summary, have we hit a max? It looks like everything is pointing to the answer yes. Newer coaster concepts are harder to come by, especially if they are creative and actually doable. We are already at a max for forces, and there's not much we could do about it. And lastly, there's just not a market to build these bigger and badder coasters, especially when small footprint layouts like Air Force One packs in a serious punch. But this does not mean that we are going to improve. There's a lot of things that we could do to work towards in the enthusiast world. To rebound the first point of criticism about coaster concepts, well, it's easy. We build the concepts that haven't been done, even if there aren't that many, and then we improve upon the concepts. Take the B&M standing coaster. This was generally referred to as one of the worst models to this day. B&M spent the time to fix this with their surf coaster, and now they created a gray ride with super unique and odd sensations. This is an example of how you could improve upon a coaster concept. I think this is going to be a key point of the next few generations, just improving upon what we already have. It amazes me how B&M took something so bad and made it into such a novelty with literally one of the most unique and unheard of forces on the planet right now, standing airtime. Now, besides just making minor improvements, there will always be a push to make coasters safer and more reliable. Technology is the driving factor behind roller coasters, and when we get better technology, I am sure we will use this to every advantage to maximize a guest experience. Reliability is something that can be improved upon a whole lot, especially when digging into launch mechanisms and maximizing operations. Theming is also a huge category that can benefit from technology. Imagine being transported into another world in real-time 4K. That could be a thing in the future. Theming and technology literally go hand in hand, and while this may not have much to do with coasters, it could be applied to this category as well. Heck, we even have a lot of work to do with VR on coasters. VR is a little iffy right now and can make people sick with minor imperfections in timing, but one day someone will invent the technology to get it perfectly in sync down to 1/10 of a second. There are so many opportunities to grow as an industry, and while they might not be bigger and better, they definitely are necessary. Before we end the video, here's a quick reminder to join the Discord because I want more people there and I like talking to y'all, so join in the Discord, link in the description. We can look at Falcon's flight to see the capabilities of roller coasters and where they have come over the past century. I don't think another project like this will be built anytime soon, especially because of the cost, so Falcon's flight will be the quote-unquote max for a while, but like I said, every minor improvement is a step forward in this industry. So with all this information, we can ask the question, are we hitting a max? And yes, we are. There's an asymptote that we are approaching, and we're going to get infinitely closer to for an infinite amount of time. There are limits on the human body that we just simply can't push, but we can find other ways to improve. Ride to Happiness proves we have not hit a limit because the people at Mock admit that they thought that this would be too much, but in reality, they could still go further while keeping the ride popular. There will always be minute innovations in roller coasters, it is just the scale is lower than before. There's also a good chance you'll see roller coasters redefined again to focus on different forces and innovate in an unexpected way. Like how B&M redefined steel coasters in the 90s, or how Intamin redefined how forces launches and the size of coasters work in the 2000s, or how RMC defined airtime and the pacing of elements in the 2010s. Maybe we will even see Zamperla or Vekoma redefine coasters again, or even better, a new manufacturer with their own interpretations or a perfect coaster. At the end of the day, while we may be approaching the limit of forces and size, in an industry that has such incredible creativity, there is bound to be another rebirth, pushing coasters closer and closer and closer to the perfect ideal ride that a coaster can be. That's all for today's video, guys. We had a lot of fun making this video, and if you enjoyed it, think about hitting the like and subscribe button. I will see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.